How high will the tight ends get pushed up tonight? Where will these 12 drafters select Jordan Addison? And what will the reaction be after night one of the Pros? Follow along with the live draft board tonight. Watch our pick-by-pick analysis as we call the action from the 2025 FFPC Pros versus Joes Guns N' Roses Division II to see who's going to win a 2026 FFPC Main Event squad. We've got a great show for you. Farrell Elliott and Dave Tripoli are here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your 2025 Pros versus Joes draft number 2 rolls on now.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture, are we not all our father's sons? I became a man, nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Farelliacs. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by the Fantasy Football Players Championship. I'm your host, Eric Balkman. My co-hosts are the definitive commissioner of Farrell Elliott and the 14-time FFPC League champion, Dave Tripoli. Tonight, we celebrate the second of 6 episodes for you that are special this summer. It's the 2025 FFPC Pros vs. Joes Guns N' Roses Division number 2 draft tonight. We'll be covering it for its entire duration. Shout out to the chat room right now. Post the questions that you might have in there. Connect with us on X at HSFF Hour, at Eric Balkman, at Dave Turp. Check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship that Farrell runs at KFFSC.com. Facebook.com/HSFF Hour is where to go to reach us there. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, X posts, and emails throughout the broadcast tonight. Thanks to the hard work of our producer, our mutual friend Rob, and our audio engineer, my best friend Bryce. As a reminder, 1 week from yesterday is deadline day for the 2025 FFPC Main Event early draft slot announcement. If you want your team draft slot by August 3rd, make sure your team is paid in full by July 27th. Remember, you can always add on extra teams, and you'll get $600 off each additional team you add on. Shout out to everybody hanging out tonight here. I got so many people, so many good people lined up for guests. But before we can get to our guests, we have to bring on our co-host. You know him, you love him. He is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. Welcome in Farrell Elliott. Farrell, how are we doing?
I am so glad to be known and loved, Balky. That's really great. And I love it when we get to announce that Turp will be joining us tonight and the how many times champion that he's ever been. And, you know, sadly, those accolades do not follow my name. So tip to the cap.
Tip of the cap to one Dave Tripoli. Without further ado, the 14-time champ, as introduced by Farrell Elliott. Dave Turp, we missed you last night. We're glad to have you on tonight, man.
Farrell, I missed you. It's the first time I see you.
Positively what?
Hold on. There you go.
Positive vibes only. I do not believe that shirt is accurate in the words of wisdom that we will hear streaming from your mouth tonight. But I've got to tell you,
we'll see.
If there is anyone who should be positive, it's Dave Tripoli and the lovely family that I enjoy following on Facebook.
Thank you very much.
You know, the great surprise last year, Balky, at the live event in Las Vegas is that we met Pop's Turp. And that was
Balky's met him before, but I think this is the first time you got a chance to meet him.
Oh, that was the first time for me. And, you know, Pops and I had a moment over by the bar, and I said, you know, Pops, all the mischievous actions and that Turp has been responsible for has largely been brought on by the bad influences that he's been known to affiliate and hang out with. And
maybe
Pops said, yeah, that's what the whole family says. And I said, well, okay, I want to be considered as part of the family. So I was chiming in right there. And then I realized that this week we might be that bad influence, Balky. You and I might be the ones that
anything's possible in Pros versus Joes.
It is.
Be safe.
It was very spirited last night.
I watched it a little bit. You guys had a good show. You had a lot of great guests. The draft didn't go too haywire. I'm ready to go tonight. I'm excited.
And man, did it go quick. Balky couldn't keep up, man. It was wild.
Nothing wrong with that.
It was wild. It went fast and furious. I am in contact right now with one Bryce Masters, commissioner to the Stars, who is commissioning this draft tonight. We are missing team one, which is Zachary Renz and Gerard Renz. That tandem, we're trying to get him in. We're going to give him a couple of minutes. If not, he's going to be on auto draft.
It's always difficult to miss team
in fact,
one.
I'm going to tell Bryce which will be a good.
Who would you give team one, Terp?
Who would I give him to? Myself. It'd be more fun.
Just give him what player would you put on their roster if they don't show up?
Let's put Jamar Chase there. That's what he's going to take him anyway.
No, they would have picked Chase anyway. Let's think of somebody else.
All right. So you guys pontificate. You guys pontificate over that. We are going to be getting going in less than 2 minutes here. I want to remind everybody that this is a 20-round best ball league. It's not a tournament. You're going against 11 other owners. The winner will get a 2026 FFPC Main Event entry valued at well over $2,000 to try to win $1 million next year. And second place will get a pair of socks, courtesy of Farrell Elliott, which was awesome.
And the KFFPC.
Beautiful socks, too. Beautiful socks.
Yes. So here is tonight's lineup. We're going to get going here in a little bit. Zachary and Gerard Renz, the Joes, are drafting at 1. Blair Andrews from RotoViz is going to be drafting second tonight. Joe Van Gogh, longtime FFPC player, been on plenty of my shows before. He's going to be a tough out tonight. He is drafting third. The tight end whisperer, Farrell, Andrew Cooper from Fantasy Alarm, is hitting cleanup tonight. Greg Link, who I believe we'll have on here shortly, he's drafting fifth. Connor Allen from 4 for 4 is in the 6th hole. Kyle Hoff and Ryan Heller, the FFPC Joe tandem, is drafting out of the 7th spot. Brian Drake and Matt Donnelly. Interesting photos of those guys tonight in preparation.
Real
for this
good
draft.
ones out there.
On X, check it out at Drake Fantasy, Matt Donnelly FF from Fantasy Points. They finished, I believe, top 15 last year, and they are drafting out of the 8th spot. Bob Buonopane is ninth tonight. The King, Scott Engel from RotoBaller, is drafting 10th. Rob Tomasino, who, Farrell, you and I believe, are going to be talking with this Friday on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. He is drafting 11th tonight. We'll hear from him tonight. And, of course, the Swolecast guy himself, Davis Maddock, will be drafting 12th tonight. We are going to get underway here shortly. I want to bring up here our first guest of the night right away because I know he's got to fly. You follow him on X at Coupe Fiasco. This guy, what a year he had last year, Farrell. Not only did he crush it during Pros versus Joes last year with his expert analysis, but this dude cleaned up as the FSWA Writer of the Year. He's the lead NFL analyst for Fantasy Alarm, host on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio at Coupe Fiasco on X. Please welcome in Mr. Andrew Cooper. Coop, what's going on, man?
What's happening, gang? Dude, so I didn't realize the prizes here. I was gonna shoot for first, but I want those socks.
No,
now I'm gonna have to
Things
figure out how to
change.
thread the needle, right?
Coop, will you be coming to the live event at Paris?
When is it?
Well,
You know what it is. We
that's
talk
the
about
wrong
this when
answer.
we're on.
That's really the wrong answer.
Dude, I'm not gonna be able to make it, guys.
No socks for you.
My daughter
There
turns
were-
2. My
there
daughter
were
turns
socks
2 at
for
the end
you.
of the month. 2 at the end of the month. So that's a tough swing for me.
Congratulations.
I think maybe we can swing it as a family trip when she's at the age where big flights like that are possible.
I love that. Terp's been talking about his arrival, about having the child. That's what keeps him out of Kentucky. Every year that child apparently is reborn. She's like 12,
Every year.
but it's
The wife wants 10 kids. Every year we just have a new one.
It's
I
crazy.
can go to Vegas, but I can't go to Kentucky.
Yeah, that's right.
Coop is on the clock right now, guys. Chase, Bowers, Barkley were the first 3 picks. Coop, no chance at Bowers here. McBride's still out there, although it would be a leap. You go with Bijan Robinson. I guess not a surprise. Did you think that he was going to be a possibility for you at 4 tonight?
So here's the thing with Bowers. I typically don't go for the high end tight ends. I've talked about this with Terp. We both have similar strategies. That's what I like. That's why I like when I'm drafting. I like him to be there talking and not part of the actual draft with me. So I like you right where you are, Terp, right there where you're not making.
I love it.
Obviously he could be the number 1 player in any sort of tight end premium format. I'm contractually obligated to kind of work on and track the tight end position all year long. It's a place where I feel I can generate value late. And we know that in regular formats, at least, not even counting the tight end premium, we've had guys come from outside the top 17 ADP to finish top 5 in 13 straight years. I'm talking Evan Engram a couple times, Darren Waller, Robert Tonyan. You go all the way back to like Julius Thomas, all these guys. Like, it's a position that you can create leverage at. So I don't want to give away all my tricks here, but for me, I feel like if I load up on the other positions and then pick the right kind of sleeper guys late, load up maybe with some extra tight ends because it's a 20-round draft, I can create some leverage that way and kind of backdoor my way to eliteness at that position. So usually I don't take guys there. I will. I mean, obviously, if Trey McBride somehow miraculously comes back, I would have to take him. But yeah, that's kind of been my way.
It's a Trey McBride would be the huge yin to the yin yang, and the yang would obviously be a smaller one. Coop, I got to tell you, we said this last year too. With all your success, Fantasy Alarm has sort of been like the pipeline for tight end whisperers. It used to be Howard Bender, and then he willingly passed that moniker off to you as well. I know people tune in for your Pros versus Joe's draft annually just to find out what mid-round tight ends you're selecting in this, because you have to win first or second to win anything in this, and clearly everybody's been paying attention to see what happens after you have your running backs, receivers, and quarterbacks in a row to see what you're doing in the mid-rounds with tight end. Are you going to try to throw anybody off tonight, or are the tight ends you're drafting you truly believe in?
Well, the thing is, I stay plugged into the value. I will take value where it is. So with my yin and yang tight end rankings, there's always a section I call the standalone tier. These are the guys, the top few guys where in a typical league, not a typical redraft, you draft one and you're done. If you take Bowers, you're only worried about bye weeks. So I will keep my eye on those guys. There's definitely guys that play well into this tight end premium format where people keep in mind the premium is only for the receptions, not the yards, not the touchdowns. I think that's that's one of the biggest advantages you can get over casual gamers. And again, in Pros versus Joes, I've done enough of these to know it should just be Pros versus Pros. The people that watch these shows, that hang out in the chat, these are very, very good fantasy gamers. There's no bad gamers in this, but that's the one place people get tricked up with the tight end premium is they just think all tight ends equally get raised, but the guys that make their bones on touchdowns or on yards, not exactly getting the benefit. I'll give you one example from last year, a guy like Tucker Kraft, right? Like Tucker Kraft had 2 60-yard plays that accounted for like 18% of his yards. He had a bunch of touchdowns, which was great, but he only got 70 targets on the season. That's 4.1 targets per game. That player last year, at least, didn't benefit as much from the tight end premium as these guys like, Njoku, who had 97 targets in 11 games, or obviously McBride and Bowers that are given 140, 150. So make sure you check the rules and you see where you're getting the bonuses.
Coop, when you, I know you like to take value where it comes in these drafts. Once you knew you had the 4 pick, do you have an idea sort of like in your mind about a few players at the one, as your first round pick, a few players that you think you're going to be picking at the second? And then conversely, if you didn't, did you at least have sort of like a format in your mind of like proper roster construction on like, okay, I sort of want to end with this, I want to end with this, or do you just really play everything by ear once you get on the clock?
So when I do these ones, there's actually, I do have a roster construction in mind of where I want to end up. Like I know I'm going to get there one way or another. When you go out to 20 rounds, which I prefer, I like best, I almost always end up with 3 QBs and 3 tight ends at the very least, just because you have that leverage, you have the extra rounds to make it there. So I do kind of think that way when I'm going in. I did load up my queue with 4 players I liked. It was the Jamar Chase and 3 running backs. In this, keep in mind, again, it's 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flexes. So you can be a lot more flexible, and it doesn't peer pressure you into drafting wide receivers like some of the other platforms do. You know what I mean? Like you can truly go with a more best available approach. For me, the player right now is my best available player in pretty much all formats. So I'm going to go ahead and take Drake London here.
Drake London is Coop's second round pick. And so you go Falcon. And obviously anybody watching this, the first question is going to be, are you worried about having too many eggs in the Atlanta basket? And you clearly answer with a resounding, no, I'm not worried.
Not worried about it. And again, with these highly consolidated teams, I'm just looking for the best players in the best situations. I mean, we've seen plenty of times where, great running backs and great wide receivers on the same teams crush. I mean, guys last year, if you went out and took Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, you had no problems at all. If you went back and you took, any of the times that, even like Tom Brady and LeGarrette Blount and Julian Edelman and those guys, if you took, I had kids 1 year take Drew Brees and Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, and he mopped us. He mopped the floor. I don't think he lost a single game. So if you get the right guys in the right situations, you'll be all right. I'm not necessarily going crazy, but I just think these are the two best players on the team, and then they're going to be just fine. So for me, I have no problem there. With some of these other teams, though, like if you got a team that's not highly consolidated, like the Packers, for instance, that's where I get scared to have multiple players, especially when you're picking one guy from the run game, one guy from the pass game. But for these two players, I just think they're stars, and I'm just hoping that the stars align.
You just mentioned the Bengals. T. Higgins is your pick here at the 304. I know you got to fly. I want to give you one opportunity here for anybody who is interested in consuming more Andrew Cooper content. Where can they read it? Where can they listen to you?
Absolutely. I'll be jumping back on here with Terp and Aiden to do another recap of a draft at some point this summer, hopefully. So I'll be popping on these airwaves. You can catch me on SiriusXM all week this week with Howard Bender out. I'm always on Thursday and Friday, 6 to 8, but I'll be all week, 6 to 8, channel 87. Our draft guide at Fantasy Alarm is out now. That includes the ultimate tight end guy, yin and yang tight end. I know you've checked out those articles. 10,000 words, a couple of them, but I'll tell you what, I put enough GIFs and silly stuff in there that it'll keep you. There's charts, there's pictures, there's clips, there's enough to keep you entertained. And I'll tell you, no matter what, with you read it, whether you take my advice or not, there's enough information in there that you'll come out smarter on the other side. So that's available at fantasyalarm.com.
Connect with the 2024 FSWA Writer of the Year, Andrew Cooper, at Coupe Fiasco on X. Coop, thanks so much. We'll continue to read. We'll continue to listen. Thank you so much, and good luck the rest of the way, man.
Thanks for having me. I'll be tuning in. Going to be a good draft, good show, guys.
Thank you so much.
See you, brother.
Good stuff from him. Andrew Cooper hopping aboard here. I want to get to our next guest here in a little bit. Before we do, Terp, what do you make of Justin Jefferson at the 107 tonight? Falls to the 107. I know that was the scuttlebutt in the chat. People were talking about what a gift that was, but Kyle Hoff and Ryan Heller, they fell into something there, man.
Extremely, extremely grateful. They should be really, really happy that Jefferson fell that far. He doesn't fall that far ever. It's a rare occasion where you see guys like CeeDee Lamb, Bowers getting as high as he did, and obviously Jahmyr Gibbs. The other three are pretty much, Barkley's been falling a little bit, but Jefferson at 7 is a gift, and then getting Brian Thomas in the next round is an awesome start.
Farrell, the auto drafter at the 1 spot, not a bad squad. This is oftentimes what I hear when I'm commissioning big gorilla drafts or main events or FFPC drafts. People are upset that there's an auto drafter, and then they, halfway through, like, man, that auto drafter put together quite a team. And I always bring this up too, and I can't remember who it was because it happened a few years ago. But there was a gentleman I was commissioning one of our mid stakes drafts for the big 6-figure grand prize at the time. Now it's $1 million. He had a son who was being unruly at bedtime, having a lot of problems trying to get to go to sleep. His whole team was auto drafted. And that dude, now he finished in like the top 70 overall, but going into the final week of the championship round, he was in like 15th overall on an auto-drafted team. So these auto-drafted teams, Farrell, they oftentimes come together. And team 1, Chase, Jacobs, Kyron Williams, not a bad start, man.
Well, maybe they'll wake up. Are they drafting from a queue, or are these truly auto drafts?
As far as I know, these are truly auto drafts. I don't believe there was a queue set.
They look like auto drafts, all things considered.
These guys didn't get the email. And Terp, it's really interesting what you talked about. We felt the same way about the 7 and 8 spot last night. We felt the players were dropping there. There's maybe so many great first-round candidates that you can say any of those guys in the 7th and 8th spot are great picks. So,
I agree. Both 7th and 8th have a great start so far. No issues whatsoever.
Last night and tonight, different guys. Yeah, maybe it's just the right spot for it. You never know. We want to get to our next guest, ladies and gentlemen. He is the FFPC Joe, drafting out of the 11 spot tonight. You will be able to watch him live this Friday when he joins Farrell and I to recap his draft and take a look forward to the FFPC main event as well. Please welcome onto the program Mr. Rob Tomasino. Rob, welcome in, man. So good to have you aboard. How do you like your draft so far through 4 picks?
Not bad. Just really trying to draft for value. I will say that this is the first. You're not going to believe this, but this is my first best ball draft that I've ever done.
Wow, really?
Ever?
Ever. I'm a traditional Joe. I'm an FFPC main event guy, and I've never done a best ball draft until right now.
Rob, you would have think you would have signed up for one just by accident. You know, you thought you were doing something. You would have ended there just. I didn't mean to be here, but I'm here. So no accident.
Absolutely.
You're here. Congratulations on a great career, man. You're doing great.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here and very appreciative.
Rob, let's talk about the draft here. Nacua was your first choice in the first round. Now, you could have grabbed McCaffrey there. You could have gone St. Brown or maybe even Nico Collins. Was the upside too good to resist with Nacua at the 111 tonight?
Definitely. I'm a big Nacua fan. I draft with my eyes a lot. I watch a ton of football. I don't miss hardly any TV games. I got the packages, and to me, he's a player, and he's very consistent. And without Cup, he should get a ton of targets, and I'm excited about him.
What do you make? There's a lot of people talking about the Dolphins offense maybe in decline or maybe spiraling, not in the right way. And yet I don't hear that about Devon Achane. Even people who don't necessarily like the Dolphins offense seem to still like Achane this year. This is a guy that I've heard, I think it was the Establish the Run podcast I listened to a couple of weeks ago. Those guys are talking about a pathway for Achane to maybe be the 101, or not the 101, but the top running back this year as well. And you get him at the 202. Again, when you're talking about winning first place or getting a pair of socks for nothing, it's all about upside, and you clearly saw some upside here with Achane at the 202.
Definitely. Another guy that if you watch, quick around the corner, great cuts, great moves, and he's going to get a lot of volume this year. And I don't think the Dolphins are going to be that good of a team. And I could see him getting a lot of fourth quarter dump passes, a lot of what we call garbage time points, besides being one of the best players in the league. So I think he has tremendous upside.
Rob, the James Cook pick we should talk about too. This is a guy who scored 16 rushing touchdowns last season, and obviously had some issues with his contract. Doesn't sound like it's a big deal, and he's been reporting and everything. He's running back 16 on average. You get him tonight at running back 14, so not a big reach on this. But your thoughts on why James Cook is still going to churn out a top 15 running back season this year?
So that was a tough pick for me right there. I was in between. I kind of wanted to take a receiver, but I didn't love any of the ones that were sitting there. And Cook was really good last year. I don't see any reason that Ray Davis is going to take over any touches for him. Again, should have a lot of volume. I think his touchdown number last year was a little bit inflated, but the Bills are going to be good. They'll have a lot of scoring opportunities. Allen will get his touchdowns, but I think Cook will be in double digits also.
I think I mentioned this last night to Farrell during our broadcast. It's not like I have a ton of Marvin Harrison, but I have enough so far this season. I'm a believer in this guy bouncing back. I'm a believer that this guy is going to be the beneficiary of an offensive coordinator that realizes what they did wrong and how they misused him last year. He's going to take advantage of a softer schedule and another year of chemistry with Kyler Murray. I like Marvin Harrison as the bounce back. You get him at the 3-4 turn, the 402 tonight. Was that a difficult choice? I know you said the Cook one was. Was Harrison difficult as well?
It was. The 3-4 turn late in the 11-12 slot to me is always hard every year. Again, Marvin Harrison, I'm a big Ohio State guy. My daughter goes to Ohio State. But like you said, last year was a mystery that he just didn't perform up to his expectations. And my hope is that this year he'll bounce back and he'll be one of the fantasy stars. I mean, he has the potential and he has the ability. So let's hope that that's how it plays out.
Rob, when you said you had never done a best ball draft before, what kind of prep did you put into this, knowing that this was a set it and forget it team, that you wouldn't be able to toy around with it throughout the season? Once it's drafted tonight, you just got to leave it.
Right. So I did do a lot of studying over the last week. Am I allowed to talk about which sites I use and stuff like that?
Go ahead, fire away.
You do you.
Yeah, so I'm a big football guys. I've been using that for a long time. So I did a lot of research on football guys, and they kind of help you with the draft with one of their tools, which is really good. And that's my go-to, so that I don't have to sit here and draw lines on sheets. So it helps me And, it's been good to me. I've been pretty consistent in my FFPC main event contests. My challenge is getting over the hump and drafting a championship team, because I feel like I'm pretty good at during the regular season. I get some teams into the championship bracket, but I never have a championship team. So that's where I need to get over the hump.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, there's plenty of people that, you are not alone. In fact, you're in the majority. Like it's if it was easy, everybody would do it, right? Isn't that the old adage?
Right.
If it was easy, that everybody would do it. You were a main event champ. You're a previous main event champion, and I believe you're drafting from home this year? Or are you going to join us in Las Vegas?
I'm from home.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
So we won't see you in Las Vegas, Rob, but what we will see is your smiling mug on Friday night as you join the High Stakes Fantasy Footballer, myself and Farrell. We're going to break down this draft extensively. So I'm very excited to talk to you about that. Good luck the rest of the way, and we'll talk with you in a few days, my friend.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Good luck, man.
Rob Tomasino, ladies and gentlemen, joining us on the program tonight. Good dude. Excited to talk to him on Friday for sure. Like I said, Rob is already an FFPC main event champion. He has never, a couple of times over too, by the way. He's never won the whole thing, but hopefully this will be the year. We could say, hey, we talked to the $1 million winner on Pros versus Joes this year back in July. We are motoring through here, Farrell, getting into the end of the 5th round here. One of the players that you and I have not talked a whole lot about went to Team 2 tonight. Blair Andrews takes Zay Flowers at the 502. What do you make of Flowers this year after the Bateman extension, knowing that Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are there again, and then with John Harbaugh saying he wants Isaiah Likely to be all-pro this year? Nobody's talking about Zay Flowers. Should they be talking about Zay Flowers?
They should be. And I love the football player, but I have not loved him as a fantasy player. I think this is the year, and somewhat last year, that the draft position will catch up with the production. I think he's at the perfect spot. I don't think you're getting a bargain here where you're drafting him, but you're going to get enough. And so I'm pleased with that. I can't say that I would have preferred anyone else there. I think those players are largely interchangeable. I love the player, don't necessarily love the system for him, and that's what would. And other guys don't either, or he wouldn't be in the 5th round.
Terp, I wanted to ask you this earlier, but I'm gonna ask you now because we have the main pieces off the board in the Eagles. You saw A.J. Brown go at the 208. You saw Devonta Smith go at the 411. Right before that, Jalen Hurts at the 405. The 3 biggest cogs in the Philly passing game. Philadelphia, I brought this up yesterday. They ran at an historic pace last year en route to a Super Bowl. I can't imagine that they're going to continue to be able to run the ball at that pace in 2025. Does that make you more likely to click the button on Brown, Smith, and Hurts this year, knowing that these guys might be undervalued by drafters based on them underwhelming, at least from a fantasy standpoint last year, because of the success of Barkley?
I think so. I mean, the Eagles' schedule is much more difficult this year. The division is, Cowboys got better. The Commanders got better. The Giants still stink, but it's still 2 wins in the season for them. But the Eagles' schedule, if you look at it, there is not many Eagles easy games where their game scripts will be very positive. Last year they had a lot of things going in their favor where they were up. Barkley got a lot of carries. Passing game got stymied down a little bit. So to me, I think Hurts, A.J. Brown, I think is a great click in the 2nd round. Like I have Drake London a little higher than him, but either of those 2 I'd be thrilled with in the middle of the 2nd round. Devonta Smith, where he's going, is just another guy that makes a ton of sense. And then Hurts, people are going to say, well, he doesn't throw the ball, but he still has the rushing upside. He still has the tush push. So, where he's being drafted and he's, pocket 5 quarterbacks that are being drafted, I love him, all things considered. So I'm trying not to be a homer here, but, I like the passing game just slightly more than I like drafting Barkley this year.
I'm glad you are a homer because it allows me to ask both you guys this question, get an honest answer. Who won the Super Bowl last year?
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah, I do believe they won the Super Bowl last year, and they did it in convincing fashion. I love the defense in Philadelphia. They hardly get to play because this running game keeps them on the sidelines. I don't you say they won't be able to run the ball, Turp, because they'll be.
I didn't say they won't be able to. I just
wait a minute. They won't be able to run the ball. I'll finish the sentence to the effect of positivity that they experienced last year. And I don't think they're going to go away from that. And I think they will be successful. So I guess I'm just countering. I can understand why these other players should have better years. I mean, Brown's year last year would not warrant where he's being drafted here. And I can understand that he would have a better year. But, you guys, I just don't think they're going to throw away that winning script. I think they perfected it.
I don't think they're going to either. I just think the teams are going to start game planning a little bit more like the Chiefs tried to do in the Super Bowl, to take Barkley out of the game and make Hurts beat him. And it worked in the Super Bowl, and it will continue to work. But let's just call it what it is. I mean, Barkley was ridiculous last year, and most people hated him going into the season. So another year going into another year older. So I'm not saying I'm fading Barkley in any way, but I can see teams doing more of a Kansas City game plan like they tried in the Super Bowl, make Hurts beat them. And then if that works out, you saw what happened in the Super Bowl, and all those passing game guys will be values compared to where they were being drafted last year.
I think if you stack up all these Eagles without Barkley and Hurts as being your stack, I think the website you're going to be consulting is terpsintrouble.com. And I don't want to be in trouble.
I'll be honest. I think you're both kind of like, I think I'm thinking how both of you are leading me here. I mean, Farrell, I'm with you. I think that the Eagles, they understand how they win. They win games with Barkley. They win games on the ground. They win games by keeping the other offense off the field. But I also think Terp is right too. I don't think they're going to be able to do that 2 consecutive seasons close to the level that they did last year. I'm not a smart man. Said Forrest Gump and Eric Balkman. And I'll tell you this, I think that sometimes it just comes down to simple regression to the mean. I can't explain it. I'm sure if I poured over documents and data and analytics, I'd probably find out reasons for it. This is why we have pros, because they can tell me how to think about it. But I just look at it from the sense of I think wanting to do what they did last year is the plan. But I don't know if they'll be able to execute the plan as well as they did in 2024. That's my take on it. And we'll see what happens, obviously, in 5 weeks, maybe less than 6 weeks. I think it's right around 5 weeks.
Right in Las Vegas. Can't wait. I'm so ready for that.
Eagles Cowboys Thursday night at Paris, which is going to be a lot of fun in Las Vegas.
100%.
Guys, I want to get to our next guest here tonight. He is another multi-league champion in the FFPC. He is drafting from the 5 spot tonight between Andrew Cooper and Connor Allen from 4 for 4. Let's bring him on right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on to the HSFF Hour airwaves, Mr. Greg Link. Greg, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us tonight. You are 6 rounds into this, about to be on the clock. How do you feel about this squad so far?
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm feeling a little shortchanged. I had a bunch of guys that got sniped from me, especially in the second round coming back. Literally in a row, I wanted Thomas, I wanted Kittle, and I just couldn't get a thing. So I'm feeling okay. I feel like it's a safe team outside of Trayvon Henderson. Like I said, I'm going to try to go for some upside. I'm sure Terp would agree with that. I think my team needs a little bit of juice.
I love your team. I think your team got plenty of juice.
I appreciate it, yeah, but I got some ones I want to hit on later. So just trying to decide. Right now, it's kind of a tough spot right now. You almost feel like you need to go tight end, right? But kind of looking at the list, and nothing's really sexy right now with Mark Andrews and some of them. So I think I'm probably going to have to go back to running back here and go with Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard is the pick for Greg Link here at the 705. And this is your 3rd running back that you drafted. Now I'll push back on Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, granted, maybe he's a safe pick, but he's an explosive pick. You mentioned Henderson as not being safe, and I think that's another explosive player. We already talked about A.J. Brown and why he could be in for a big season. There's a big bounce back on Tyreek Hill right now, Greg, that among FFPC drafters, that maybe Hill was undervalued about a month or so ago, and now he's being properly valued. You have Chris Olave, too, which people underestimate how good that guy can be, given how good he already has been throughout his career. He stays on the field. That could be a big pick. So I don't know, man. Like, yes, there are some certain safe picks on this team, but I also think you have some explosive difference makers that could be the difference between you getting a pair of socks from the KFFSC and a free FFPC main event this year too. Like, so
I always
think
want to finish second. So
yeah, exactly. It's the best consolation prize ever is getting a pair of socks from Farrell. You had mentioned the tight end, and you went away from it. Just nobody you liked enough there that you could pull the trigger and just rather to build your running back depth?
no one that I feel great about. I've got some ones I want. I think I can wait a little bit now. That ask me around from now when 2 or 3 of those guys are gone, and I'll be wishing I had taken one. But as of right now, yeah, I've kind of got them tiered a little bit, and got 2 or 3 coming up that I think I can pick from that I think will get good production. But it's always so tough for me. I saw last night's draft. 5th pick went to, first pick for the guy in my spot took Trey McBride, and I just couldn't see myself doing it. Obviously for Bowers, but he didn't make it that far. So kind of thought about a couple of builds going into this, and kind of got blown up within the first 3 or 4 picks. So gonna have to pivot and reroute.
So Bowers, you were hoping for, didn't happen. McBride was too early. You mentioned getting sniped on some other picks, and I'm sorry if you mentioned who are the ones that you were hoping to get that didn't fall your way.
Sure. On the second round coming back, you can see Collins, Thomas, Kittle went 1, 2, 3 right before me, and I had all those lined up. I actually wanted Kittle ideally. Didn't think that Thomas would fall or Nico would fall to me. So would have had a nice little quandary there if they all were there. But, I'm not surprised. Got a lot of good people in this draft. They know what they're doing. And like I said, the Joes are about as good as the pros because they listen to them. They follow them every time, every day, every season. So, again, I think we're all kind of even right now.
Getting back to the Pollard pick, Greg, what do you think the split is going to be like in Tennessee this year with a new quarterback in Cam Ward? What do you think the split is going to be in that backfield between Pollard and Spears?
I think we know that anytime you have a rookie quarterback, you want a tight end or a running back as their security blanket, right? And so for me, I think it's going to be probably 70-30. Mm-hmm. Spears is very valuable. I mean, he'd be a great late round guy to get. He gets catches out of the backfield. He's fast. So honestly, I think Pollard's 70-30. But I definitely think he has some upside because I think Cam Ward's going to take his lumps and, he's going to be handing the ball off a lot.
Greg, how did you, because I know you are not a heavy volume early drafting season drafter. How did you sort of prep for this pros versus Joe's draft tonight?
Watching a lot of best ball videos, also watching kind of the risers and fallers of the ADP. So for me, I mean, best ball's not the main thing I do, but I do it. And so honestly, it's tough for me to draft this early and know that my guys are going to make it, that they're going to be healthy. I come out to Vegas every year for the first weekend that football starts. So I do main events on the Thursday and also do the bracket tournament as well. And so I like drafting literally a day before the season. So it's a little difficult for me because, with Tyreek Hill, who knows? Honestly, he could be arrested by the time the season starts. Chris Olave is one sneeze away from not playing for the season. So I've got some issues, that I'm concerned about, but hopefully my guys will make it.
Greg, one final question here,
yes.
and maybe 2. We'll see if we get back to you here. Through 7 rounds of this 20-round draft, you have 3 running backs, you have 4 receivers. Does this change the way that you handle the quarterback and tight end position the rest of the way?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's going to come down to value. Obviously, it's going to come down to the guys that I can see running back and receivers in the next couple of rounds. I got a bunch of guys that are earmarked, but I'm going to have to go at some point in time for quarterback. But honestly, not too many have gone off the board, in a while. So I feel like, maybe I can wait a little bit on that. I don't want to give my strategy away, but, I might be able to wait on quarterback. But yeah, I'm going to have to start loading up on tight end, probably the next 2 or 3 picks. Maybe kind of go back to back or 2 out of the next 3 picks being tight end just to kind of get, some value there.
Bart Starr, old Packers quarterback, used to say that he didn't start playing well in games until he got hit and knocked down a few times by the defensive lineman. That's when he really picked it up. And I think, Greg, you have the advantage because you just said you're drafting live in Las Vegas in the Super Bracket tournament on the start of the the NFL season. Now you've already been sniped several times. You've already been hit. So, when you're drafting live in Vegas, when there are no sleepers, when everybody's sniping everybody, not going to bother you a bit because you're already in midseason form, man.
Correct. I will say the one thing that I will say that you benefit from drafting live is that people get nervous. People, overthink things. People want their dudes and they go get them and they might reach. there are a lot of times value falls to you, especially in the early rounds. It's not just about middle and late. Yeah, you can obviously win there, but if you can get, like, I had Derrick Henry fall to me in the second round last year in the main event when I was there in Vegas, and I mean, I ended up being huge for me to win my league. And so, I think it's really about fantasy IQ, right? It's about knowing who you draft against. The same dudes are in that super bracket tournament every Vegas. I know exactly who they are, I know exactly what they want. And so depending on where I am in the draft, that does dictate, like, do I need to reach for someone? Because if I've got someone on my right that's pretty smart, I might have to go a little early when I don't want to. If I have somebody that I'm like, yeah, he doesn't have any clue what he's doing, I might wait, And so sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I think fantasy IQ is very important in drafts.
Connor Allen is drafting next to you, Greg. He has taken 4 straight receivers. He is on deck. You are in the hole right now. Yeah. Tell us kind of, and like, feel free to keep, to yourself what you want to keep to yourself here. But what's kind of going through your mind here as you're in the hole, 2 picks away from making your 8th round pick?
So it comes down to, do I really want to reach for another running back or a receiver right now? And all right, let's see what Connor does. That's going to be, some of the good kind of running backs like Scatabo and stuff like that would be ones I'd like to reach for here, but obviously that's not going to happen. So, going to have to pivot to one of the 2 positions I don't have yet. How about that?
There you go. And that makes sense. And Connor Allen, by the way, I said he drafted 4 straight receivers. He took Lamb in the first round. So through 7 rounds, he's got 5 receivers. He does have the tight end. He's only got 1 running back. We'll see what he does here. But again, as I think Rob was talking there, Greg, maybe I can't remember. When it was Coop was talking about this to start off. The starting lineup in this: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, and 2 flexes.
Oh, okay.
You can go a lot of different ways. Now, Connor Allen ends up going with another receiver here, loading up and pissing yellow, as Peter Overzet would say. He's got 6 wide receivers here. You are now on the clock, Greg. 45 seconds to go. Let's go through your mind here. What are you thinking here?
I'm going to go tight end here. I'm going to try to look for a tight end that's got, not necessarily upside per se, but is going to be a solid play. Like, I look at some of the ones out here now, and I'm seeing Kincaid and Jonnu Smith, and I'm a Steeler fan, and I'm not sold on that just yet. I don't care how good he looks in camp. So I think I'm going to have to go for someone who I think has got got good upside. He's in a good offense. They spread the ball around. I think I'm going to go with Jake Ferguson as my tight end.
Ferguson, there you go. Ferguson's going to be interesting this year too, because I know there's a lot of people that are sold on George Pickens being the number 2 target getter in Dallas. And like Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. I think we got to remember Jake Ferguson there as well, especially in a tight end premium format. That could prove to be a very prescient pick here by you, Greg. Greg Link, ladies and gentlemen. Greg, we'll send you off to let you enjoy the rest of the draft. Good luck the rest of the way. Good luck at drafting season, and we'll see you out at Paris in Las Vegas this September, man.
That sounds great. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
That is Greg Link, ladies and gentlemen, hanging out with us tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Farrell Elliott, Dave Tripoli joining me, Eric Balkman, for live coverage of Night 2 of the Pros versus Joes. I was just going to say, regarding the tight end here, Farrell, Ferguson was Greg's first pick. First tight end selection was Ferguson. You already had McBride and Kelsey, Drake and Donnelly in the 8 spot from fantasy points. They loaded up and got 2 tight ends within the first 5 rounds. Farrell, when you're drafting out at Paris and you're drafting FFPC drafts and you see somebody draft 2 tight ends before you have 1, how much does that affect how you want to attack the tight end position?
It likely is not going to happen because I attacked the tight end position very aggressively. I probably overpay a little bit for the position to get the first one. And then if it falls to me, if they're later off the board, I'll quickly take the second one. And it's proven to be in our FFPC format for me, such a nice crutch to lean on. To have the dual flex and to play both those players. So because there's just so many wide receivers that I love. And as you know, my favorite wide receiver hasn't even been drafted yet. So we're in
Michael
a situation
Pittman, no matter what.
There's so many wide receivers that it just, I figure I can find those guys. And but you can't find these tight ends. Now, I love Ferguson. He did not find the end zone last year, but came on these shows with Terp one of the things Turp and I could agree on is that Ferguson would be a massive red zone target for Dallas last year. He never found the end zone, but he still caught 59 balls, and he was not physically prepared to play a lot of football. So I think our Mr. Link scored really big here.
Clearly, Joe Van Gogh watching the broadcast tonight as he selects Michael Pittman as
there
we're
you go,
talking
Joe.
about him at the
There you go,
9:03
Joe.
tonight. Good job on him to get him there. We also had this comment from the fantasy soprano himself, Steven Yergalos, Dave. Team 2 and Team 6 going to beat each other up at running back in this second half. Terp, what do you make of that? That's Blair Andrews at the 2 spot. That's Connor Allen from the 6 spot. Both guys have hopped aboard with me on FFPC Insider Access. Really smart guys. Obviously, they know what they're talking about. Their choice in co-hosting a show is maybe a little misguided, that they would hang out with me for 2 hours, but I'd say their fantasy football chops are excellent. What do you make of Blair Andrews drafting 6 receivers in the first 8 rounds and Connor Allen doing the exact same thing, Turp?
2 of my favorite teams so far. I mean, I think 6 is probably my favorite draft so far. I know, like, the one running back thing, obviously Chase Brown, who I love and will draft as much as I can. Those receivers I'm all a big fan of. You know, you're talking about getting Lamb, getting Moore, getting Waddle, getting Ridley, Jennings, all favorites of mine. Jaden Reed. It makes a ton of sense if you're trying to buy a Packer. It's probably going to be Reed. Brock Purdy gives you the upside, gives you the stack with Jennings. I love what Team 6 did. Team 2, same pretty much lockstep. Jonathan Taylor, if Daniel Jones is the quarterback is much better. Getting Bowers is the elite tight end. Those receivers, whether you like them or not, they're all guys that have potential to break out. And then getting Jalen Warren to start your running back 2 committee, it makes a ton of sense. There are 2 teams I think had great drafts so far. I approve both.
I think Team 2 has the better receivers.
I don't agree. They don't have CeeDee Lamb.
Boy, it's close.
Okay. I'm sorry, Turp. Yeah, take CeeDee Lamb out of it. Go down here to the middle group of receivers that were selected.
I would agree.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll still probably take Team 6, but it's not by a lot. It's close.
Look at the types of receivers that Connor Allen has drafted here at 6. Like, you have DJ Moore. He is in kind of a nebulous spot, right? Like, because of the addition of Luther Burden and Colston Loveland and new coaching staff. And we know that the Bears had to talk to him about his attitude last year. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen there. Jalen Waddle, I can tell myself a story of how that dude's a top 15 receiver this year. I can also see him not finishing in the top 40. Ridley, brand new quarterback. How's his chemistry going to work with Cam Ward? Juwan Jennings, same thing. I mean, all these guys have warts on this team. Now, I guess I could say the same thing about Blair Andrews' squad. Like, JSN, he was a 3rd-round pick, and he's probably going to pay off on that. But at the same time, they fired the OC last year because he passed too much, and they want to run the ball more. How does that affect Smith and Jigba? Flowers, we already talked about. Smith, we already talked about. Jerry Jeudy, I mean, there's this groundswell for Cedric Tillman right now. Obviously, Deontay Johnson there, too, kind of gumming up the works. Romo Dunze, I mean, I was just listening to Sean Siegel talk about this the other day, that this guy is could be in a high bust territory based on all the other pass catchers in Chicago this year. And then Downs, I think all 3 of us like Downs, but Farrell's obviously Team Pittman, but Farrell
I'm Team Pittman too. I'm Team Pittman too. Let me get that out there.
So am I the only guy that likes Josh Downs? I think Downs is
I don't mind Josh Downs, but I probably will pass on him more than most.
Yeah, I don't think an 8th-round draft pick, the 70-catch guy with 5 touchdowns, and that's what I think he'll usually be through his career. And that's a great football player, but I don't think that's going to get it done for you to win this tournament. Pittman has potential in the history of being a 100-catch receiver. So that's just the difference.
Okay. So let me bring this up. And Farrell, I apologize, Terp. We have not talked about this yet, but I know Farrell and I think Farrell and I did. So Michael Pittman, year 2 in the NFL, 88 for 1,082. Year 3, 99 for 925. Year 4, 109 for 1,152. Year 5, 69 for 808. But bear in mind, he was playing last season with a broken back. And 69 for 808 with a broken back. Yeah. Farrell, if I have a broken back, I ain't moving for 6 months. Michael Pittman played a football season with a broken back.
Yeah, in this format, especially, you might want to take tough players, guys that play hurt. Availability, the greatest ability. And
my easy answer with Pittman is there's no guarantee that Josh Downs is going to be on the field for the full time. They have a bunch of other guys that are going to rotate in. One thing that's almost guaranteed, Andrew Cooper said it perfectly, is Michael Pittman's going to be out there 100% of the time. So he's going to have all the opportunities possible to be out there. Josh Downs, if he's playing full time, hey, the upside's there. But I don't see that day being here anytime soon. And we still have the Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson question out there. So to me, if I'm drafting a Colts receiver, all things considered, where they're being drafted, it's Pittman for me over Downs.
Mm-hmm. And it could be a steal, a 9th round pick.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not downgrading Downs, but to me, there's a lot more things that have to go right for Downs than there are Pittman.
Catch guy. And Bulky, based on the way you broke down the receivers here, well, this drafter should have drafted some damn running backs, a tight end, and a quarterback. I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, I'm having some fun here because obviously we are in the area of the draft where everybody's got warts and nobody. I mean, if these guys were perfect, they'd be 2nd and 3rd round picks, not 8th and 9th round picks. Terp, let me ask you about Cedric Tillman. I just brought him up here. There's some people really telling me on via podcasts or I'm reading about it on the internet that not to sleep on Cedric Tillman with the Browns this year. This is after Jerry Jeudy just went ham on the rest of the league after the trade to Cleveland last year. You have a really ambiguous situation at quarterback. What do you make of Cedric Tillman in the 10th round, who went to the King, Scott Engel from RotoBaller here?
I'm a big fan of Cedric Tillman. He was a guy I liked coming out of college. I really thought that, once he got his footing in the NFL, he'd be, starting to turn into a player. And you saw that a little late last year. I mean, he really became what, some people like myself thought he was going to be. The only question is the Cleveland Browns, who's playing quarterback. They're going to run the ball still. Their offense is not exciting. Joe Flacco is never going to start 17 games, and that's who everybody wants to start. So you got these rookies, whether it's Gabriel, whether it's Kenny Pickett, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, which is probably not going to happen. How do we have anything that we could bank on with Tillman being that high upside guy that we look for? Mm-hmm. Is the possibility there? Yeah, Jerry Jeudy's there and Njoku's there. They're not going anywhere. So to me, I like Tillman, but he used to be a little cheaper. He's starting to get up there where his name's starting to pop up in these puff pieces that we always see, and he's starting to get a little bit more expensive. I'll still have him. I still have a ton early, but it's hard to get really excited about the Browns offense, even if Joe Flacco's the quarterback. And, can Njoku, Jeudy, and Tillman get there? I don't think so.
Let me ask you guys something. One word answer on this question. Excuse me. I'm getting verklempt talking about the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation, which I'm sure they are too. I'm not going to ask you which quarterback it is, but how many games does the quarterback that starts the most games for the Browns this year start? In other words, whatever quarterback starts the most games, how many will it be this year? Is it 4? Is it 7? Is it 10? Is it higher than 10? What do you guys say?
My number would be 10. My number would be 10. I think Flacco gets there. I mean, I think he starts, unless the only person I should see bleeding out Flacco is Dylan Gabriel. I don't see there being any guy. Kenny Pickett is not winning that job, and if he does, we're all doomed.
What's the Cleveland bye week, Balky?
Cleveland's bye week is 9.
I think Terp's got the right number then. Yeah. Guys, just statistics football. We love Josh Downs' skill set. I don't love his size, but I love his skill set. This has nothing to do with Pittman. But if we go back to the Zay Flowers question that we had earlier, and you look up the stats last year, and you say nothing was working right in the passing game there in Indianapolis. We all love Zay Flowers as I do. He and Downs put up largely the same stats. More yardage to Flowers, but largely the same stats. So, I can't too much complain about Josh Downs being picked 3 or 4 rounds later.
So, guys, I want to bring this up. Drew DeLuca chimes in. Coop with Engram in the 7th is so on brand, and I'm here for it. Still giddy about getting him at the 7-12 in the Scott Fishbowl. Drew DeLuca also pointed out, and this is where I'm leading into my next question here. So many great picks here across the board, but I'll show some love to Team 7. Rubio, our good buddy, says, I like Herma Joe's team at 7 as well. Now, Team 7 is Kyle Hoff and Ryan Heller. We haven't talked a whole lot about their squad tonight. But guys, what do you make of it here? He gets Lamar, or I should say they get Lamar Jackson at the 3. They've kind of cobbled together this backfield starting in round 5 with Connor, RJ Harvey, and then Cam Scadaboo. And the receivers, Justin Jefferson, Brian Thomas, obviously those guys are elite. And then you get Xavier Worthy, you get Jacoby Myers, you get Khalil Shakir. There's some stability in the back, the last 2 wide receiver picks there. And then you get Goddard. You wait until round 10 to take Goddard, which we'll see what he does or what they do the rest of the way here. But Team 7 getting some love on YouTube right now, Turp.
Not for me. I don't. It's not a structure that I love. I mean, I love how they started with Jefferson, Thomas, and Lamar. I love Worthy. That's a good pick. I don't mind the running backs in Connor and Harvey. But then after that, like, your tight end position is extremely weak. You're way behind the 8 ball. I mean, non-homer or whatever you want to call it, Dallas Goedert to me is just not a good pick. There's other guys that present more upside. Like, what has to happen for Dallas Goedert to get there? Brown, Smith to get hurt, and the Eagles to start throwing the ball more. That's a lot. A lot of things that have to happen for Goddard to pay off, being your top tight end select.
That was a theme last night, Turp, and that was a theme last night, and no one would jump on the boat with me on that. And I think it's just he's the poor man's equivalent to George Kittle. I think George Kittle is the greatest football player in the league, one of the top 10 players in the league. He's not the greatest fantasy football player in the league, and Goddard for different reasons. I love that team with what they went out and did with Lamar Jackson. They're just a tight end short. That's they're
tight end short, and the running back room has a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk about the running backs in a second here, but I want to throw this at you. Joe King just popped in YouTube with this. Let's take away the Jacoby Myers pick here, and let's replace it with Mark Andrews. Now all of a sudden,
now you're talking.
And you get that stack with Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews too.
Makes a ton of sense. It would make the team totally different.
All right, so the running backs, Turp, and while I agree with you in theory on this, and first place is getting a free main event team, and with all due respect to the socks that Farrell will be providing for the second place team, I'm going for first. RJ Harvey is the type of running back that, Dobbins might affect him, but I could also see how he finishes in the top 10 at running back this year. Cam Scadaboo is another guy. I don't know what to make of this player. Like, I know what he did in college. I know athleticism isn't exactly one of his strong points, but sometimes athleticism doesn't matter. Some guys just have it, and he might just have it. I'm not saying he does, but I don't know what's going to happen when he gets to the next level. I don't really have a good comparison for Scadaboo. So what happens if he's a top 20 running back or maybe even a top 15 running back this year? Then all of a sudden that running back room looks a lot better. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen at all, but I can at least tell myself a story where this running back build makes a little bit of sense. Steph Miller chiming in on the same thing. She likes the layers of the running backs here. And Turp, you may not like it, but you can at least admit here that there is a path for this team.
There's definitely a path. I mean, obviously you need a little bit more things right than other teams that I like, but there's definitely a path to get there. I mean, I personally think the Drake May pick's a little excessive. I mean, we're talking about the tight end position. You have Lamar. You're banking on Lamar. Lamar has to be the guy. He's your stud. But Drake May, if he hits your lineup, you're probably at a deficit because
that's where you're right, Turp. I would have gone another tight end there, but let's say something that nobody's talking about. Khalil Shakir, there's a 100-catch wide receiver right there. Khalil Shakir had the best improvement last year statistically, and he's going to put another 20.
I don't mind him where he's being drafted.
Another 20 balls on top of that.
He doesn't excite me. He's a hard click for me.
I can't imagine, Turp, what you don't like about this player. I just can't imagine. Again, he's putting up the same numbers. He's back there. He's there with those Zay Flowers numbers. And you can't.
I don't and won't have any Zay Flowers. So Zay Flowers is not a guy that.
Okay, well, let's stay on Khalil Shakir then. That was just an example.
I know you were talking about him earlier, so I wanted to correct yourself there. I don't draft much Zay Flowers, but Shakir, he's being drafted. It's fine. It's not a bad pick. 9th round. Allen's favorite guy.
That's my thing, Farrell. It's a 9th round pick. If you miss
9th round pick is damn near can catch 100 balls this year.
He's not going to hurt you there.
Yeah,
we're all for Khalil Shakir. He's not going to hurt. He could deliver. He's going to outscore most of these wide receivers on this team, except Jefferson.
Buffalo was not a heavy passing team last year. They didn't have to be. And obviously James Cook ran pure most of the year. Ray Davis actually looked really good as well. Passing was never a huge part of the equation with Buffalo, similar to the same way of what I said with Philadelphia, where I don't think they can be as efficient this year. I don't think Buffalo can be as efficient as they were last year running the ball, which usually means good things for Shakir. Farrell's good buddy, Matt Collins, no longer on the team in Buffalo, so got to replace that. They did, however, go out and add Joshua Palmer. And this is year 2.
Don't forget.
As well.
You're forgetting somebody.
Elijah Moore or Kincaid?
Elijah Moore, no matter what. Come on, man.
Bob,
we don't ever give up on him.
Right. Bob Lung is a big Elijah Moore fan. We talked with him about this last night, too. I talked with him about it Thursday on the FFPC Insider Access show, which you can watch, by the way, on the Better Sports Network, 7 to 9 each and every Thursday night year-round. So he was talking about Elijah Moore. You still have Kincaid there. So I could see it might just be a net. Now, Farrell, 100 receptions is tough for me to see. 80, sure. 90, I don't know. 100, I don't think it's going to come to that.
Oh, I don't either, but it could.
Well, you just said he's a 100-catch guy.
He's a 100-catch guy.
We're having some fun here tonight. I love it. Here as Team 7 back on the clock. Guys,
100-catch guy, and I read that at terpsintrouble.com. Everybody should go there now.
We got to get that URL, Terp.
Dangerous stuff, man. Dangerous stuff. Vegas is right around the corner.
Bill Hollywood chimed in. Let's talk about the two Joes at 9 and 11. We talked about Rob Tomasino's team earlier. I want to talk about Bob Buonapane's team here at the 9 spot. Bill Hollywood says that's one of the teams that he really likes. You're looking at filling out the quarterback room here, round 10 on. He's got Prescott and McCarthy. I really like that. The running backs are Henry, Walker, Robinson, Mason, Charbonnet, Garendo. The one thing that I see with the majority of those running backs, not a lot of catches. Like a lot of in between the tackles, a lot of touches, not a lot of catches in that running back room, which could be fine. The receivers are Neighbors, Wilson, Pickens, and that's it. So this and Hawkinson's obviously the tight end. So this is a team where he's going to have to rely on some spike week wide receivers, Farrell, within the last 8 rounds of the draft to supplement these target monsters and Neighbors and Wilson. And I would probably look at some, I mean, as weird as it sounds, some more running backs, just get a couple more upside running backs. And I think you definitely need to add one more tight end. The question is, Farrell, do you need to add a third tight end on this squad?
I think so. I think I would, especially if you're so light at wide receiver. You could, and the tight end whispers favorite one from last year is still out there. So if you listen to the show, you know who that is. And they're all somewhat interchangeable. So pick the one you like and try to get the stack that you're working with if you can. Balky, eventually those 100 catch receivers in the 9th round are going to run out, and I think we're there.
Yeah, we might be there. Terp, what do you make of those running backs? I like Henry this year. I definitely like Walker this year. Robinson I've drafted in several Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship leagues. I've been talking of Jordan Mason, although I think I'm flipping back to Aaron Jones right now as the better guy because Mason is just shooting up the draft boards way too high. And then he's locking up the Seattle backfield here with Walker and Charbonnet. This is an interesting collection of running backs for Bob Buonapane at the 9 spot.
I really like his team. I love his receivers. I love Neighbors, Wilson, and Pickens. It's just a little bit of an overkill at the running back position. I just feel like he drafted probably 1, maybe 2 too many. The Garendo pick just seems a little bit excessive to me. You could say whether you like Robinson, Mason, or Charbonnet, one of those guys to me is just a little too much. You got to mix a receiver in there because realistically, if any of those receivers go down or Hawkinson just busts, this team could be at trouble at 2 positions. So
but I kind of see Terp Balky. I kind of see what he's doing here. He's got Henry's going to score for him every week, right? Mm-hmm. Henry's, except maybe week 1 like last year. So Henry's going to score for him every week. So he's picking out his number 2. Out of that, he gets a number 2 running back that could outperform most of the number 2 running backs. And then he's got a potential flex out of these guys. So it's a cool strategy. I like it. I would have done another tight end down here at the bottom, but why not?
Davis Maddock, Jim Horazy. Jim, I apologize if I'm butchering your last name. Jim Horazy, who's watching us on YouTube tonight. said that Davis Maddox team has huge upside here. Let's look at Davis's team from the 12 spot. And there are some interesting picks here. You got Allen and Goff at quarterback. He gets Josh Allen with the first pick of the 4th round. The backfield is led by McCaffrey, Hampton. He does get Dylan Sampson here in round 11, which we'll talk about in a second regarding Quinshon Judkins. And then the receivers are Amon-Ra St. Brown, Rashee Rice, Jamison Williams, Matthew Golden, and Emeka Egbuka. Tight ends are Andrews and Loveland. Here's what I love about this team, specifically, just looking at it right now. McCaffrey, injury risk. Amon-Ra St. Brown, off-season knee surgery. Amarian Hampton, Najee Harris. Rashee Rice, suspension. Jamison Williams, potential trade guy after the season. We don't know how he's going to be used. Matthew Golden could disappear in a sea of Packers receivers. Emeka Egbuka, rookie along with Evans and Godwin. Colston Loveland, shoulder surgery. Dylan Sampson, second running back drafted by the Browns. Jared Goff, the team was out of control last year, and he only finished as quarterback 9. You know what I see? I see a lot of misfit toys, and I see a guy who is gunning for first place. This guy hates your socks, Farrell, because he's taking all the chances here to draft this dominant team to not only win this league, but if everything goes right, he could be the number 1 overall Pros versus Joe's champion as well. So Maddox drafts without fear, and Terp, shouldn't we always draft without fear?
1,000%. He's doing exactly what you said. He's going for first, and if it doesn't work out, he's probably going to come in 12th. And at the end of the day, who cares? Because he's drafting. I mean, if he gets CMC from the past, I mean, he wins this league. You know, St. Brown, if that knee surgery is not anything you got to worry about, he's getting the best quarterback in some eyes in fantasy football. If Amari and Hampton and Najee Harris, off-season turmoil stuff, he takes that job early. And then the receivers, I mean, if he could just survive until Rashee Rice gets his 2 or 4 game suspension, I love what he did in this structure. I would not do this structure in like a main event or like a guerrilla draft or something like that, because to me, it's a little bit too risky. But in this format, absolutely, it's probably the most, all-in type of draft that I've seen in the first 2 drafts of just going for it, because if it doesn't work out, who cares? It's not hurting.
I wish he would come on and tell us if that was intentional.
I'm sure it was. He's an extremely smart guy. Yeah. He's been getting a lot of crap on Twitter, I've seen in the last week or so, but he's an intelligent guy. He knows what he's doing.
If you don't have haters, you're not doing it right.
100%. If you don't have haters, like all these people that come on and troll him, hey, he does good work. Those guys over there, they're very good at what they do. And he drafted a good team tonight. Whether it comes in first doesn't really matter, because he went for it, and if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, oh well.
Yeah, just looking at this too with Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's a nice little stack to have too in your back pocket.
And Jamison Williams.
And Jamison Williams, great point, Terp. I missed that as well. So that's something that I think Davis. I'm sure he.
There we go.
Do this, and he
There's
gets
Hunter Henry. He's having a great draft.
There's a pick.
We had Scott Engel had 3 tight ends through 12 rounds. We had Davis Maddox draft 3 tight ends through 13 rounds. Farrell, if you're drafting in a 20-round best ball league, is there a specific spot where you like to have your third tight end on the roster by, or does it kind of depend upon team construction?
I don't know. In this format, I would draft 4 tight ends. I just keep
4.
Yeah,
Terp, what about you?
It depends where you're drafting. Like if you're drafting the middle of the road guys, I think it's 3, maybe 4. But it really just depends on, like, if you can get Hunter Henry as your third tight end, I'm good. Or if you really want to wait and take an upside guy like an Aronde Gadsden or Ferguson or something like that, Theo Johnson, guys like that have some upside to them. But, especially in this format, like, it just makes total sense. If you get a 0, who cares? Like, it is what it is. But if you hit one of these guys, I mean, like Andrew said when he was on the show earlier, you're upside and you're really taking the advantage away from a lot of the guys in the draft. If you're taking one of these guys later, like like I said, Ferguson, Gadsden, Theo Johnson, just to name a few of guys who are getting drafted here late that could really, give you leverage against everybody else. And
the Whisperer kind of put a pin in that Tucker Kraft balloon to a degree. He's been so on. It's tight. He's so good with it. He called it last year. I'd like when we get him back, I'd like to know, who's this year's Hunter Henry.
We have to keep watching to see what Coop does in the final 7 rounds here, because he's got Engram as 1 tight end, but nobody else since then. By the way, I'm going to get to Coop's team in a second. I just want to point out Davis Maddox haters. apparently not fans of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour because he's getting nothing but love here. You got Joe King. Davis is our guy. Alex P. Keaton. Davis is a good guy. Tom Smith, Team 12, which is Davis Maddock. Reckless drafting. Gotta love it. And then, of course, Steph Miller, Davis team blanks. And
you fill in the blank.
She means it in a good way here. Anyway, let's
if
move on.
If we go off the grid of the 12 teams and go over to our guest in the chat room, I got to point out to you, Bulky, and to you, Terp. He was on fire last night. He's even better tonight. Adam Hahn's over here batting 1,000. Just
Smart
wisdom
guy.
Keeps coming out of him. You know the Adam Hahn, Terp.
I do. Smart guy.
Everybody knows Terp.
Very smart guy.
You know what also is great about Adam is his YouTube profile picture. You got to take a guy like that pretty seriously. I got it up on the screen right now. Like,
looks
this
pretty
is not
scary.
Some guy with a whoops. I'm sorry.
Do we lose you?
And okay,
Hey, Bulky, there.
All right, yeah, you got me. I'm sorry.
Yes.
You're
All
still
right.
back.
All
You're
right,
a little
cool.
darker, but you're back.
No, hold on. There we go. Okay, so yeah, Adam Hahn this is not like some sort of dancing GIF or anything like that. This is a serious man who takes his fantasy football seriously. By the way, Jim Harazi also pointing this out too, that Davis Maddock, an upcoming father as well. So congratulations.
Saw that today.
Davis
Congrats
Maddock.
to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff from Davis. So here's what I wanted to bring it back to Coop's team. Guys, Farrell, I'm going to throw this one to you first. I absolutely love waiting until round 9, and maybe this is because I'm a big Cardinals fan this year, at least for fantasy goes. But waiting until round 9 to get the 7th quarterback off the board in Kyler Murray, and then you follow that up with last year's QB4 in Baker Mayfield. Now, I understand there's probably some regression coming from Mayfield. I understand that what he did from an efficiency standpoint last year is probably not going to be able to be duplicated or come close to be duplicated, but I still think he's good. And when you're taking him in the 10th round, I don't think it really matters. He doesn't have to be quarterback 4 at that point. He doesn't have to do what he did last year. And when you get Murray and Mayfield back-to-back in rounds 9 and 10 as your 1 and 2 quarterbacks, I think that's fantastic drafting from Coop here tonight, Farrell.
I understand Mayfield, and I like it very, very much. So that's who I'm considering his number 1 quarterback. I'm still a mystery on Murray, and even this late in the draft, I like some of the other guys better. But Mayfield, who in our FFPC main event, I've never been a drafter of. He's coming to his own, and I was very pleased to see how he played last year.
Terp, 3 straight new offensive coordinators for Tampa. Went from Canales to Cohen, and now to what's his name, Grizzard. I want to say, or is it
Something
Gizzard?
like that.
King
Yeah,
Wizard,
Gizzard,
King
Grizzard.
Lizard, and the
Sounds
Gizzard
good.
Wizard. Yeah,
Good
he
team
is going to
name.
be there. Any concern about a third different offensive coordinator for 3
It's
consecutive
obviously
years?
concerned. I mean, but Baker Mayfield seems to have figured it out now in the NFL. Obviously, got paid. His career in Tampa has been a resurgence. Great story overall because people hated him when he got drafted number 1. Totally flopped in the Browns. Really didn't figure it all out. But now he's a top 10 quarterback in the league, no matter what anybody tries to tell you. And they have a ton of guys there, a ton of weapons. Whether it's Godwin, whether it's Evans, whether it's Emeka, whether it's Jalen McMillan, whether it's Kate Otten, Bucky Irving, Rashad White. That team is poised to make a run. If the defense holds up, I don't know. It's hard to see. Will there be an aggression? Do I think he's going to come in the top 5 this year? No, but I still think he finishes comfortably in the top. He's a QB1 at the end of the season.
Mike Evans is the best friend he's ever met in the church.
He always finds a way to get him the ball.
He's fantastic. Yeah, look at Coop's team. The last player that he drafted, Shaheed. We talk about spike players in best ball competition. Shaheed certainly fits that description.
100%.
Guys, Terp, I have to ask you this because Will Shipley has been picking up a lot of steam ever since, I would say, Dynasty rookie draft season. I saw this guy available on a lot of waiver wires, and people were scooping him up in the 3rd and 4th rounds of rookie drafts. What do you make of Shipley in Philadelphia this year? And presented without context, I'm just going to say Barkley was out of control with his usage last year and how much he had to shoulder. How are you handling a guy who's definitely in touch with the Eagles more than anybody I know? How do you handle Will Shipley in drafts?
taking Will Shipley makes 100% sense. You're looking for that high upside type of potential. Barkley's usage last year was ridiculous. And let's just say that's not withstandable. It's not back-to-back years of that kind of usage is not something we see that often. There's definitely some wear and tear. He's getting up there in age. He just won a Super Bowl. So, the Super Bowl hangover, quote unquote. Yeah, I know Saquon Barkley's a different breed. He's a beast and I get all that stuff, but I don't see the Eagles, especially early in the season, just absolutely killing him like they did last year. Shipley and the corpse of A.J. Dillon is going to be around. I think Shipley has enough juice to take that job. There is a little bit of worry that they might add a veteran if he doesn't take it early enough because, Barkley, the carries that he got last year, he's not getting this year. So I love Shipley this year. He's a guy that where he's being drafted, right around these other guys, the, Brashad Smith, the Roshan Johnsons, they all have potential upside. These are the guys you should be taking in these spots right here because hopefully nothing happens to Saquon Barkley. But if for whatever reason it does, you're talking about the best offense in football, getting a guy like Will Shipley, it could be a league winner type of situation. A.J. Dillon ain't that guy.
Yeah, and I don't know if A.J. Dillon makes the team either, too. That's the other.
That's what worries me because if A.J. Dillon doesn't make the team, there might be that veteran guy that the Eagles bring in as like the backup to Saquon Barkley if they don't think Shipley can handle the job. That's the worry with Shipley. He's just an afterthought because they bring in a veteran for nothing who gets cut. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but there's plenty of guys out there that make sense that they could just put in there and Shipley gets pushed out. But I think he takes the job. I think he has enough juice to where it's worth where he's being drafted to take shots.
This just in, spotted at a local cheesesteak joint in downtown Philly was Leonard Fournette tonight. So you never know, Turp, what's going to happen. Anything's
Big
possible.
Big Lenny.
I want to get to our next guest. Before we do, let me throw this at you, Farrell. Team One, who auto-drafted the first 3 picks, which we didn't care about because we thought they were strong picks there. But then they got in, and they have drafted a team where they didn't take a tight end until round 11, but now they have 3 of them on their squad. You got Darren Waller, who is taking the place of Jonnu Smith in Miami. You have Elijah Arroyo, who is now the beneficiary of a Seattle tight end room that no longer has Noah Fant. And now Zach Ertz, who's competing with a somewhat underwhelming Ben Sinnott so far. And I know Sinnott's young, and this could be a big leap forward for him. But with the McLaurin contract situation going on right now, if Fat Debo shows up in Washington this year, maybe Ertz is going to be worth more than what a lot of people are projecting here. Farrell, what do you make of Team One not taking a tight end until round 11, but now having Waller, Arroyo, and Ertz in that room?
It wouldn't be my strategy, but I like what they came up with. And, I talked about having 4 tight ends if I'm ever in this situation. Let me see your 4th guy, fellas. But, Zach Ertz did more last year than what we expected him to do. And that's going to have to happen here again. Rookie tight ends is not anywhere I want to put my eggs in that basket. And God bless Darren Waller. That's definitely a shake up the dice and make a long shot bet.
The person we want to bring on right now just made a pick of Sam Darnold in the 15th round. He's going to be up again here fairly quickly. You read all of his work on RotoBaller.com. This is a guy who's been around the industry for forever. He has forgotten more about fantasy football than I'll ever know. The first time the FSWA did a Hall of Fame induction, he was part of that class. This is a guy that you hear him on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. You read his work on The Athletic as well. You follow him on the X at Scott E. the King. Mr. Scott Engel from RotoBaller joining us tonight. Scott, good evening and welcome. How you doing?
Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for having me, and good to be on with you guys.
Well, we are excited to have you on 15 rounds in. What do you make of your team from the 10 spot, my friend?
I'm just, I got the 2 running backs I like for most upside. I wanted to get one of the top 4 quarterbacks. I was going to get him, and I connected Daniels with McLaurin. I'm noticing in a lot of drafts that, you can get real value on rookies. So I like some of the value that I've gotten on rookies, and I still have some in my queue.
Mm-hmm.
So you're on the clock shortly. You're on deck right now. Rob Tomasino's going to be picking right now. You already have 2 quarterbacks in your squad. You have the 3 tight ends that we talked about earlier. You have 6 receivers, 4 running backs. You are now on the clock, Scott. Take us through the thought process of your 1603 pick here.
1603, maybe just best player left on the board. And right now I do have DeAndre Swift, who I believe is going to be ticketed for a big year. So I'm going to take the rookie running back that's going to back him up just in case, because I think he could be a goal line guy and maybe go ahead of Roschon Johnson there.
Mm-hmm.
So Johnson ends up going in the 14th round, Scott. I'm kind of curious, if Johnson would have been there, if you had your choice between Johnson and Monangai, would you have still picked Monangai?
Yeah, because, again, you guys know this is high stakes. You got to go with upside. Roschon Johnson doesn't have any fantasy upside. Monangai does. So every time, I get into a best ball, like this, you really got to swing for the fences. So I know some people didn't like my Cedric Tillman pick in the 10th round in the chat room, and I appreciate them commenting, good or bad. But, to me, he had the most upside of any player I wanted at that point. And, you just got to tune out what people say, although you respect it.
Scott Engel, who had a former top 20 overall finish in Pros versus Joes in 2023, looking for bigger and better things here this season. And you talk about upside. Well, there's some upside with this Washington connection that you had drafted in the 3rd round here. You end up getting McLaurin at the 310. You pair him with Jaden Daniels at the 403. Scott, was that part of the thought process? Like, I'm going to get McLaurin here, and I'm going to grab Daniels on the turn to get this stack going right away. Was that what you were thinking?
I wasn't actively thinking of this because any good drafter, and everybody here, and especially in the chat room, good drafters, you have to go with the flow. I wanted McLaurin. There are some people down on McLaurin. It doesn't make sense to me. He's coming off his best season, playing his with the best quarterback of his career. And I said, look, I know I never get sniped, okay, because I'm always ready with like 3 or 4 guys. So I never say, oh, you took my guy, because I got 4 or 5 of them sitting there. And so I said, if Daniels is there when I come around, I'm going to take him because the top 2 quarterbacks are already gone. And if I can walk myself into a connection there, I will. If it doesn't happen, I'll pivot to another direction.
I like your tight end selections here. That obviously you like big athletic tight ends. All these guys have a great deal in common, and I'm impressed with that group. I wonder if you were tempted. We just finished talking about Ertz. I wonder if you were ever tempted to add Ertz since you were building this Washington stack. So I was just curious about that.
Not really, because at this point, I appreciate your comment. Knowing the good reputation that you have. Well, Zach Ertz, there's not upside to me. It's this guy, like, he's admirably as an NFL player, still going towards the end of his career. But, I went Tucker Kraft, who could break out. Brenton Strange could be a sleeper. And there's still one tight end I have in my queue that nobody took yet. Maybe he's a late sleeper.
Yeah.
So, Scott, I want to bring this up because we haven't talked about this at all, and I was thinking about this today, and maybe I'm just overrating it. What do you make of this Ricky Pearsall injury? Strained the hamstring in May. Now he's on the NFI, the active NFI list or whatever, which he can be taken off at any time. I know it's still July 20th, but this is an injury that happened like 2 months ago. You drafted him in the 7th round tonight, so it doesn't sound like you're concerned with this hamstring at all from Pearsall.
No, because, it's still July. He's got a lot of time to recover. Even this early, you're going to see people getting bumped down because of injuries or potential suspensions, and that's where you get value. I think it's between Pearsall and Jennings to really prove themselves why Ayuk is out, and one of them is going to get pushed forward more based on how they do early in the season, and it's either going to be Pearsall or Jennings that will get played out on the field.
Talking with Scott Engel. You can read his work at RotoBaller. You hear him on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, and check out his work on The Athletic, as well as he is drafting tonight, ladies and gentlemen, from the 10 spot next to Rob Tomasino and Bob Buonapane, the FFPC Joes drafting there. Scott is drafting right between them. You're coming up on your 17th round pick. Brenton Strange and Travis Hunter. Interesting Jacksonville players there. How does Strange fit in with Thomas and Hunter this year, Scott?
I think, the other guys are spectacular downfield players. This is somebody, if Trevor Lawrence has to do it this year, because if he doesn't do it this year, he's never going to do it. So, Strange is the guy that I think made them comfortable, say, okay, we don't need Evan Engram. He showed us enough. And you got to have, every good quarterback's got to have a reliable chain mover. And I think that's the kind of guy that Strange is.
Mm-hmm. Which makes perfect sense, at least to me here. Guys, we are coming up on, or Scott, we're coming up on your pick here. Looks like you are in the hole right now. A well-balanced team. How important is balance in a competition like this, where granted you're going for first place, so you can be heavy and strong in one area, and that can carry you. But I don't know. Sometimes I like to be balanced, so when the value falls to me, I can grab it. Do you ever think about that?
I certainly think about balance because and here comes the tight end that I was talking about that I have holstered. Let me just take him right there. Okay. Theo Johnson. And that's my fourth tight end. I heard what you said about you liking have four tight ends.
There you go, baby.
Yep, exactly. I
agree with you. I like to have balance because you never know who's going to get injured. And you got to take the best players available for upside, period. So I agree with you. When I'm drafting, I carefully evaluate balance throughout. And talking about how I never get sniped, I know it sounds arrogant, but it's just the truth. I had Roman Wilson and Theo Johnson in my queue.
Right.
And when Wilson got taken right ahead of me, I didn't say, "Oh, you took my guy." I went ahead and took Theo Johnson because I couldn't decide between the two of them. And sometimes the person ahead of you helps you make the decision.
And somewhere, all the fantasy Sopranos are smiling.
Yes, exactly. As Theo Johnson, that Steve already made it clear. Steve already posted in the chat room Theo Johnson, and I said, Steve, I know you're not in this draft, but somehow I thought you would still find a way to draft Theo Johnson here tonight. Didn't happen because Scott got him. The king, Scott Engel. Scott, if anybody wants to read more of what you're doing or listen to you, what's the schedule like for you right now for football season?
Betting stuff you can find on Advanced Local, which is NewJersey.com, Cleveland.com, AL.com, Oregon Live,
get around, Scott,
etc. Just want to take my next pick here.
Fire away.
This upside rookie from the Titans could end up to be a starter. That's what I'm saying about rookies. You could just pick them off late. So Advanced Local, also, of course, RotoBaller.com, where I've been for 7 years, and I love it. The Athletic. I've been the official fantasy writer for Seahawks.com, the official site of the Seahawks since 2012. So you can always come to me with Seahawk questions if anybody has any. And also SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, Wednesday mornings, 6 to 7 a.m. and Sundays, 4 to 6 p.m.
Do you like the Seahawks rookie tight end?
I like him a lot. There's some talk about maybe splitting him out as an X receiver. A lot of people asking, with JSN and Cup, who's going to play on the outside? You look at the Rams' past offenses, they run a lot to the inside. You could see Arroyo on the outside with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I think they're going to do some interesting stuff offensively. He's a great prospect. He's just got to stay healthy.
Do you play the auction format at all?
I didn't last year, but I definitely enjoy it.
I could see you being hell in the auction format. I could see that you could shake things up very quickly in that format.
Well, I do a lot of baseball auctions, so football comes naturally to me.
Scott, final question. Sean Green in the YouTube chat. AJ Barner at tight end. Obviously, probably the second guy to Arroyo right now. Anything with him for fantasy this year that we need to be knowing about?
Super deep sleeper, maybe to watch. Arroyo. Unfortunately, durability is an issue, but I think they released Fant because they really liked what Arroyo showed them last season. So, deep sleeper, you want to you want to take him in a very deep draft like this one, I'm totally fine with it.
We are always totally fine with any advice, fantasy, betting, whatever, from Scott, the King Engel, the King of Queens of New York, joining us tonight here.
Yeah, calling
Scott,
from Queens, actually.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah. Scott E. the King on X. We will continue to listen to you on SiriusXM. Check out everything you're doing for Advanced Local, RotoBaller, and, of course, the Seahawks website as well. Be good, my friend. Enjoy it the rest of the way, and we'll talk with you again real soon, man.
Thank you for having me. I'll be in FFPC Dynasty player probably for the next 70 years.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. We appreciate that. That is Scott Engel, the King from RotoBaller tonight. Guys, I want to get into one final guest here tonight. And did we save the best for last? I'm not going to rank him, but I'm just going to tell you that this guy has won 162 FFPC leagues over the course of his career. That is 1, that is 6, that is 2. I've done a few shows with him over the years. A really talented guy, a really smart guy, and he's going to class up the joint for the last couple rounds here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in, drafting from the 3 spot tonight, the one, the only, the pride of Canada, Joe Van Gogh. Joe, welcome in tonight, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Great to be here.
This is exciting to have you on always, and we get you when you're on the clock here to tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm between a couple wide receivers here, so I'm just gonna rip it on one of these 3 guys. Double check if there's a stack available. There is not, so we're on the clock. We're on live. Let's take De'Ami Brown.
I love that pick. I've been drafting De'Ami Brown a lot in best balls this year. I think he's an underrated player for sure. We'll talk about him in a second, Joe. Let's wide scope your team so far. You end up going with Barkley at the 3. Obviously, a hotly contested offense that we talked about tonight were the Philadelphia Eagles. You show no fear, which is, I think, the way to draft. In drafting Barkley at the 3, you know the workload concerns, but you also realize that this could be a potential league winner even at the 103 tonight. How difficult of a decision was it to say, I'm going to take Barkley over Bijan Robinson here?
Yeah, that was actually a tough decision, but in the end, I had to stick to what I think is most likely. And I just think the Eagles are going to likely win, between like 12 and 15 games, and they're going to be a dominant force again. Offensive line is strong. Saquon Barkley doesn't look like he's lost any steps. So I'm, of course, banking on him being healthy, but I think you could point at most running backs in this range. And if they get hurt, you're going to be in trouble regardless. So I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley there.
Joe, your first running back, obviously Barkley. Your second one was Breece Hall, and we've seen a bit of bounce back in ADP with Breece Hall lately. Can you talk a little bit about what you see happening in New York this year? Is it Occam's razor, sort of like how you described? Like, most obvious answer is Hall leading them in touches, leading them in carries, and Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen are sort of afterthoughts. What kind of a year is Breece Hall in for in 2025 with a new head coach, offensive coordinator, and quarterback?
I would like to think Davis is an afterthought. I do like Braylon Allen as a young running back in Dynasty especially, but I do think Breece Hall has the explosiveness to, potentially lead the league in rushing if he gets enough carries. Potentially he has that corollary with the quarterback who creates the rushing threat that opens up the rushing lanes. I think in the 3rd round here, you're baking in the risk of the Jets offense not being all that good. And I also think Hall's pass catching profile, while maybe Fields may or may not throw it to him as much as I'd like, I do think his history of catching balls is really strong, and he could be a great check down option for Fields as well.
Joe, you drafted Laporta in the 5th round. I believe you were the second team to double up at the position. You end up taking Dalton Kincaid as the tight end 12 here tonight. This was at the 8-10. Why did you feel the need, number 1, to double up on tight ends within the first 8 rounds, and then number 2, to make Dalton Kincaid your second guy?
Well, I probably didn't like my other options at running back and wide receiver when I made the choice. I do like Dalton Kincaid, given that I don't see a whole lot other real threats in Buffalo. I think Kincaid has room to improve. I think he was hurt last year, and he does have the profile to potentially take a big step forward. He was being drafted in, I think, the second, third round last year, like really high. Yeah. And I think his upside is bigger than where I got him here. So I was happy to pick him, especially in a best ball league. I don't have to decide what weeks to play him in. I do think the Bills are going to run the ball a lot, and that'll be problematic for Kincaid, but I think that's priced in here.
There's nowhere to go but up, and you're right. It's priced in there.
I couldn't get any worse than last year.
Yeah,
that's right. You're dead right, man. Dead right.
The proverbial dead cat bounced. Joe Van Gogh will come here.
Joe, the first 9 rounds you were Sands quarterback. At the point you drafted Fields in the 10th round here at the 10-10, had you made up your mind like, okay, I'm drafting Fields here, I'm going to get at least 2 more guys?
I do lean late round quarterback. Once we got to the 10th, I have a bit of a bias towards Fields. I've been a big fan of his in Dynasty. I had too much of him. Unfortunately, his value dropped, but he's had a bounce back, obviously signing with the Jets and having at least hopefully a 1-year window to reprove himself. He's proven to be a great fantasy asset, not a great real life quarterback asset, but I'm hoping he can figure that out. But in this case, I think he's going to get hopefully 17 starts, and we've seen what he does when he starts. He runs the ball a lot. He can scramble for big touchdowns, and he creates big plays out of nothing. You almost hope he settles down a little bit from that standpoint in Dynasty, but for this particular league, I'm just hoping he gives me 12 great startable weeks here.
Joe, the pick of Brandon Ayuk in the 11th round, what's your expectations? What are you going to get out of that pick? When does that start paying off? Is it week 5? Is it week 8? Is it later? Well, obviously, I think you're a little bit more bullish on Ayuk than I am, but maybe rightfully so. What's your expectation for what type of season he's going to have coming off this injury?
Yeah, there was a conversation earlier, of course, about Jennings against Pearsall. I feel like in the 11th round, Ayuk could easily outshoot both of those guys once he comes back. I've heard conflicting things over the last couple of months through the summer. Heard a couple of really positive reports, heard plenty of negative ones. Not sure what to believe exactly, but I do believe in Ayuk's talent. Again, from a dynasty standpoint, I think he's a really talented player. And I don't think that, Jennings, while he was fantastic last year, he doesn't have the pedigree. And with Pearsall, there's the injury history, or the recent injury history, I mean, more concerning. And then also the question about whether he's actually good or not. So I think Ayuk's proven that he's a good player, and he was one of the most improved players from when he came out. He got benched right away, and then he ended up earning the coach's trust, and I think he's actually a really good player. So if he's healthy, I think he's a pretty good bet to actually score more points than the other 2 guys.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you about regarding the Cleveland running back situation tonight, we talked about Dylan Sampson. He went in the 11th round tonight. You get Jerome Ford in the 15th. What's your best guess on how this, again, if there's anything more confusing about the Browns and their quarterback situation, it's now their running back situation because of Judkins. How is this going to work out? What are you foreseeing this season and how you're handling the Browns running backs at the moment?
It's definitely confusing. I kept watching Judkins fall, and even as soon as a week ago, I would have probably picked him a round or 2 sooner. Now things just seem to be so unclear about where he's going to land. Sampson, I like his profile. Good speed, good profile, potentially can catch the ball a little bit. I think he's got some talent and he could potentially break out. But Jerome Ford is kind of like old reliable. He's been on the team. He can catch the ball. He's a guy that the coaches trust. And given the uncertainty with the rookies, I could see him starting the year and even playing 8 to 12 games as sort of the 55% guy. And that'd be huge in the 15th round. So even if he's getting 30 to 40% of the touches, over the course of the season, scores me some touchdowns, and at that point in the draft, I think he's a pretty good value.
Speaking of the draft, it has come to an end with Joe Van Gogh utilizing his final pick on Colts wide receiver Alec Pierce, a good best ball choice here tonight, especially if we get anything out of the quarterback position in Indianapolis that could pay off in spades. Joe, this is so great that you joined us tonight. Congratulations on another successful draft. Are we going to see you out in Paris in Vegas this fall in September?
It looks that way, yeah. Unless something pops up with work, I should be there. Yeah.
Excellent. No pop-ups, Joe. We're counting.
Yes, exactly.
Trust me, I'm avoiding those as much as it
could be the best dressed drafter in the room too.
Yeah, yeah, it could be my marriage anniversary. Otherwise, I want to be in Vegas. So
yeah, exactly. Yes,
not much is going to get in the way of that.
Joe, thanks a lot, man. Best of luck to you the rest of drafting season, and we'll see you in September, dude.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's Joe Van Gogh, ladies and gentlemen, the 162-time FFPC champion, and I'm not making that number up. I went out and counted myself. I made sure of it. Guys, we have come
20 in Canadian numbers, by the way.
That's true. Yes, exactly. We have come to the end of night 2 of Pros versus Joes, and this is a bloodbath tonight. I mean, Adam Hahn was talking about this. Like, we got to give updates on this specific league throughout the season. It was a fun one. It was cutthroat. It was awesome. It was everything we wanted it to be. And if there's any draft that could top it, it might be tomorrow's. And I know I'll have you guys at my side here for tomorrow night's draft as well. Until then, KFFSC.com is where to check out Farrell's Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championships. At Dave Turp on the X for the 14-time FFPC League winner there as well. Guys, excellent analysis. Great job tonight. Let's do this again at 10 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow.
You got it. That is Dave Turpoli. That is Farrell Elliott hanging out with us tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, a live show of Pros versus Joes, night number 2. And that will complete our program tonight. Remember, the HSFF Hour normally airs Friday nights, 10/9 Central, live on YouTube, X, and Facebook. We have on-demand streaming available, probably about 2 different podcast networks as well. So if there's a podcast network out there, chances are we're on it, and you can watch or listen to us there. FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament. Oh, I just remembered I have to commission the midnight draft tonight. So if you want to jump into that, please feel free. That one will start in about 75 minutes. And if you enter that, you're not only entered into the $1 million grand prize for that tournament, $350 to enter, $50 discount on every third team. You're eligible for the Midweek Mayhem, which means you will get an entry into the drawing that we're going to do Friday morning for 3 free FFPC Big Gorilla teams. So draft early, draft often. It starts tonight. It goes through Thursday. You'll be eligible for that drawing if you draft in the FFPC Big Gorilla. Of course, the 7 Bananas promo live as well. If you want to win a free Jungle Safari for 4, you don't even have to be a good drafter. Just enter it. And if you keep getting that 7 pick multiple times in a row, we're going to hook you up with free teams and potentially a Jungle Safari. FFPC Main Event as well. The early draft slot deadline is July 27th. That's a week from yesterday. Get your team squared away by then, and you'll have your draft slot by August 3rd. That's potentially a full month plus to prep for where you're going to be drafting out in Paris or live from the comfort of your own home. FFPC Best Ball and Superflex Best Ball tournaments live at myffpc.com. Dynasty startups as well. Steven Yergalos posted when we had Joe Van Gogh on that Joe's pretty much in all his dynasty leagues on the FFPC and says he's a really tough customer when it comes to winning leagues. You can compete against those guys for as little as $100. You can compete against them for $5,000, depending upon what entry fee you want to pay. 2,000 plus leagues in 15 years. None have ever folded. Check it out at myffpc.com. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. I want to thank so many people tonight. Andrew Cooper, Rob Tomasino, Greg Link, Scott Engel, Joe Van Gogh for popping on while they were drafting tonight. I obviously want to thank Darren Armani for throwing this together at Fantasy Mojo on X, fantasymojo.com. He is the godfather of the PVJ, and if you play in the FFPC, you want a subscription to his website with all the tools he has there. I want to thank Farrell Elliott, Dave Turpoli, the FFPC, our producer and mutual friend Rob, audio engineer, my best friend Bryce, and of course, most of all our listeners, all our viewers tonight. Coming up tomorrow, we will go 1 hour later. This is a 10 o'clock Eastern start. The Joes will feature Drew and Josh Maselli, John Zaleski, Rob Vieira, another really talented drafter. Go Bills is drafting, Nick Costantino and Sean Stutzman, Ben and Randall Hook, and of course, Dan Amato. That is a really, really strong class of Joes drafting tomorrow. The pros are going to have their work cut out for them, but a lot of these guys are pretty talented in their own right. Mike Shope and Adam Krautwurst from the Deep End Fantasy Football Podcast. John Daigle is going to be drafting tomorrow night as well. Stacy Perez from Fantasy and Frames. I've drafted against her. It's no picnic. She's not going to make it fun for anybody tomorrow because she's going to put together a really good team. Dwayne McFarland, speaking of guys who got their starts with the FFPC, really talented drafter. He's now with Fantasy Life. He'll be drafting tomorrow. Sean Siegel and Ben Gretsch from the Stealing Bananas Podcast. RotoViz, and of course, yards per catch, stealing signals, they'll be drafting. And then the final pro, one of the more decorated ones in Pros versus Joe's history, my former Scott Fishbowl partner, Matt Schauf from Draft Sharks. Tonight was a bloodbath. Tomorrow night, it's going to be cutthroat, as all get out. So check that out. Tomorrow night, we go live on this channel at 10 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate each and every one of you. And we will talk with you again tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Your week continues now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Farrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Want to make everybody aware, too, there are 4 spots left in that Midnight Big Gorilla. So if you want to draft for $1 million tonight and be entered in that midweek mayhem giveaway, now is the time to jump in. Just 4 spots available. Draft starts 69 minutes from now. I'll see you in the draft chat tonight for the Big Gorilla if you do join that. Otherwise, I'll see you all on YouTube tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern time for PBJ number 3.